Recently, I've been seeing this new sermon reel style pop up all over the place. And this specific method or style of sermon reel, if you want to call it that, is pretty unique because it feels different than your typical live stream footage, which is what, a lot of us do, is pull clips from the live stream and cut it up and crop it for Instagram and Facebook. With just a few small tweaks, these reels actually feel more engaging and more immersive, like you're actually in the room. And I've seen churches like Andy Stanley and North Point do this. I've seen Craig Rochelle and Life.Church do this. I really like the style because it feels intentional. So last week for Easter services, I made a few clips in this same method or style, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do it in case you want to do something similar yourself. So like I said already, intentionality is the main thing that separates this from other sermon reels that you might see online. You're intentional with the way you film and with the way you edit these sermon reels. The main difference for filming is that you use a dedicated camera that's mounted vertically, so completely separate from the broadcast feed, and it records straight to an SD card. And also the framing of this shot helps separate this from your typical live stream look. First, you're mounting the camera vertically. Second, you're in the back of the room, typically on a long zoom lens. So your field of view is compressed, but you still see the first few rows of the audience at least. And that angle will give you an in the room kind of perspective so that it feels like you're sitting there with everyone else. So the gear that I use for this specifically is my Sony a7S III along with my Sony 70 to 200 millimeter lens. And then besides that, all you need is a tripod and then audio, which I just pulled directly from our live stream mix. You definitely don't need this exact setup. This is just what I used this week. But in the future, I'm planning on making this a permanent spot for our mobile or roaming camera that we use every single week. So typically we use a Panasonic G85 for our roaming mobile camera. So then just at the end of worship, I'll have our camera op just place the camera on that tripod and then hit record to an SD card, and we can record with our roaming camera while it's not in use during the sermon. So that will be our long-term solution. This is just the camera setup that I use specifically for this test run. And all equipment used will be linked in the description if you want to check that out. So now moving on to the editing, the other part that really sells this is the editing side, or really how little editing there is with these clips. Most of these clips that I've seen have 0 cuts or very minimal cuts. So they're choosing a 30 to 60 second take and letting that play out in full, which helps it feel natural, like you're sitting there in the room. That matches the same feeling that we get from the camera angle. We're matching that same energy with the editing. Sometimes there's light music in the background, but it also works without any music because, again, it feels like you're in the room. That's the kind of feeling that you're trying to get out of these clips. So really the entire editing process is just to sync audio and video, select a 30 to 60 second clip, and then add captions and maybe a color correction. So to show you exactly what I did, I pulled 3 different clips from the sermon and made those into reels that we posted. The first one here is a completely uncut clip, so a full 30 to 60 seconds of uncut footage. The second one I did make a cut, and then the third one I did cut a few times. Synced footage with the live stream audio, added captions, and that's, again, like I said, that's pretty much it. Side note here, if you like this font, this is called Owners. That's the name of this font. I've started using it a bunch since I kind of stumbled onto this font. Then the last thing that I just want to touch on, in case you want to throw this little extra sauce on there, this is not necessary, just a little extra thing that's I think is kind of fun. You might have noticed it already, but there's a little bit of camera shake on these clips, and I did that through just adding a plugin to the footage. Obviously, it was shot on a tripod, so it was shot very still. I threw this on there. I've seen other sermon reels do this as well. Just add a little camera shake. Feeling like you're right in there in the room kind of draws you in a little bit, maybe subconsciously. Some people might not even notice that this is happening, but I bought this plugin pack a little while ago, and this is one of the effects on it. This is camera shake effects from Film Impact, and I just added that on to like the least aggressive setting or preset that it had. You can set the camera shake to be really aggressive, but obviously you just want something that's very subtle and very minimal. So that's what I set here. And I put this on those reels. So again, not something that you have to do, but just kind of adds a little extra sauce there, which is kind of fun. So anyway, that's pretty much all you need to know in order to make this new style of sermon reel. I'll link below all of the ones that I made for this video. So if you want to watch those in full, you can check them out. We posted these across all of our social feeds on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and they either outperformed or, met the average expectation of our typical reel performance. It's a decent way to keep things fresh and interesting, at least. And, you know, I've seen this style pop up, like I said, more and more recently. So I thought it'd just be fun to kind of break it down. Let me know if this is something that you've done or something that you're going to try to do after watching this video. And if you want to see a 45-minute breakdown of how to edit a sermon reel step by step, this is what I give people at our church who are helping us out with editing sermon reels, going through like cutting, cropping, captions, music, exporting, all of that stuff in detail. You can check that entire video out right here. It'll be linked right here, and I'll see you over there.